segue into music. All right, so we'll do the intro.
Let me know if you're getting any buzz from my phone. I put it on an airplane mode, but... There we go. Just sit up straight.
Mic's hot.
That'll do it.
Maybe I should. Your mics are both hot.
Yes, hello everybody, welcome to Turning Left. I'm Jason Elm, along with me as always, Sir Richard is in the house.
Yeah,
Sir Richard.
Loaded, locked, and ready to fire.
We are, tonight it's going to be a hot and fast show, folks, because it is just like being, it's like being really hungry and invited to an all-you-can-eat buffet. It is a target-rich environment out there, and we are here. So let's kick this off. What a last 48 hours now, right?
Yes, 48.
Holy cow. Here, I'm going to move my mic here. A little technical thing. Just, you know, it was I'd like to call it a crap tsunami.
Yeah, in a Nixonian, with Nixonian icing on it.
Right. Did you know that there's now a new word in the American lexicon, right? It's called Nixon-esque. Yeah, Nixon-esque.
Yeah.
How many shadows and echoes of Watergate and Nixon did you feel yesterday as you were watching all of this just cascade,
it
right?
all came back. And it was,
Yeah.
Haldeman, Ehrlichman, Dean, the whole wrecking crew, and the 18-minute gap.
Right. And now the 18-minute gap now turns into the 18-day gap between being
When he was told.
Yeah, between told. And we found out also that he was not only told by Sally Yates, Obama told him the very first time they met, do not hire this guy, he is compromised. And so so naturally the question was, why did they wait 18 days to fire a guy while he's sitting in on top secret level discussions and NSC meetings and everything like that, meeting world leaders, and you know that he is an unregistered operative for both Russia and Turkey.
Well, as Bob Woodward once said, follow the money.
Excellent, yeah. And I think that's what's going to happen because, folks, you got to remember that Nixon was not taken down because of the Watergate burglary, right? As bad as that was, he was taken down because of the attempted cover-up of it, okay?
That's exactly what history shows.
And history is rhyming again.
Oh, it's just shades of sedition. What can I say?
Right, yeah, because what other word? I mean, I know there are words that are real strong: sedition, treason. But when you see this, what else? I mean, even if you are on the hardcore right, okay, you got to start to recognize that we are in that territory. I mean, obviously, we got a guy that now that a grand jury in Eastern Virginia has now subpoenaed this guy's pertinent files, any sort of information they put out on this guy. Evidently, they have found enough sufficient evidence to warrant issuing subpoenas and start actively looking for any prosecutorial
Oh, absolutely.
evidence.
If this were to happen in the 19th century, it would have been war.
Oh, yeah. The funny thing about this is, and the kind of incredulous thing about this, I guess, is this makes Nixon and Watergate look like Sunday school.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
I mean, for me, it reminds me of Khrushchev taking his shoe off, banging on the table, and telling, "We will bury you."
Right.
Well, I think that's still in the lexicon of Putin and the Russian oligarchs.
Oh, yeah. You may have changed the packaging, but but folks, the guts are still the same, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, of course, the big tsunami we're talking about is really with no notice at all. Trump fires FBI Director James Comey. Now, I'm going to tell a real story for folks that you may not be aware of. Did you know how Comey found out that he was fired?
Yes.
I will tell you. He is down in Los Angeles, right? And he's giving a talk to the field office of L.A., and they're in their, I guess, their briefing room, auditorium.
Right.
And he's up there, and he's talking, and there happens to be a television right over his shoulder, okay? And then he notices that the people in the crowd are kind of looking over his shoulder, right?
Right. They're aghast, to say the least.
Exactly, right? And so he turns around, looks at the TV, and you know what he does? He starts laughing, right? Because he thinks that it's a prank. Someone is, oh, great.
Somebody in the department thought this would be funny.
Right. And in the last show, we did Coffee with Curmudgeons earlier. We alluded to the fact that there was probably some unknown FBI guy named, Special Agent Jenkins. That was behind this prank, right?
Right.
Oh, Jenkins, you got me, But people were scrambling around in the background, and someone whispers in Comey's ear, "Hey, you need to come back."
It's real.
Yeah, you need to come back to the office. We need to talk to you, right? And so Comey, of course, what? And so, but I think at this point he knew what was going to happen because evidently before he went back into the room, he left the podium, went down, and literally shook everyone's hand. And, I mean, that obviously tells you he knows something is coming, right?
Right.
So he goes in the back room, and where they tell him, "Hey, sir, it's real," and that's effective immediately, right? And here's the other. I mean, at this point, I'm like thinking, oh my God, stay classy, Don Trump. I mean, this is totally classless.
What?
Right? I know. I was asking.
Come on, that's like a pipe dream from hell.
Right, but exactly. This whole thing is going to be a pipe dream from hell. Okay, moving on. Now, another classless thing that the White House, your White House. Sorry, I'm getting all worked up. But the White House, what happens is they send the official letter of termination. They send to the headquarters which is like 7 blocks away, headquarters of the FBI. Well, who do they send? Do they send a aide? Do they send Spicer? I mean, I don't know. Who do they send? Somebody to do it. Trump sends his own personal bodyguard.
A made man, no doubt.
A made man. Yeah. The Godfather sends Luca Brasi down to the FBI headquarters to give the termination note, and he gives the termination note 15 minutes after it's already appeared on TV. Okay?
Right.
So talk about lack of coordination, lack of professionalism, lack of ethics, lack of fill in the blank, folks. This is an endless stream of
lack of
whatever.
Well, yeah, but we've come to know them as normal operating procedure for Don the Con.
Yeah, there is no normal operating procedure. I don't think there's any procedure at all. He's just he's impulse. He's all impulse. I really get the feeling that that day. He decided, I want Comey gone. Draft me a letter right now. You get down there and you serve it to him. I want him out of there. Meanwhile, the guys in the communications bunker in the West Wing, Spicy and the boys, they have no idea what the hell's going on.
No,
Suddenly
they don't.
They see, and there are some reports that the first time that these guys knew about Comey being fired is when they saw it on TV.
Right.
Just like Comey. And I'm like, what sort of kindergarten circus is going on there? Not only that, there are reports now. The Hill reported while we were on the air in the morning show that old Spicy himself, after the news broke, was actually hiding somewhere in the White House. He took refuge just so he didn't have to talk to any reporters or anything.
And on top of that, Sessions is the one that probably called up Trump and said, get rid of him because he's going to dig too deep and your rear end's going to get fried.
That is exactly right. Now, they tried to pass the buck and say that this originally came from an assistant AG, deputy AG, and Sessions just agreed with it and passed it on. I got the sneaking suspicion. Sessions told the guy, hey,
write me
I
a
want
letter.
This guy gone. Write me a letter. Give me some. Because the whole thing, in and of itself, and Doc, can we throw up the letter on the screen? The actual letter, which is kind of funny that it leaks out 5 minutes after, and the reason that they give of firing it is so fantastical fantasy farce, 3 Fs, that I can't believe someone did that with a straight face. I was like, when I first read it, I was like, you got to be kidding.
Well,
right?
When you're full of Donald dogma, which once you step in it, you can't scrape it off your mind.
I was going there too, man. That was, when you're number one, look out for number two, right?
Exactly.
And, but the reason they give is the Clinton
emails.
Like, what? What? That is so fantastically wackadoo that I was sitting there and I was like,
yes, dumbfounded.
Yeah, and that's not actually, I'm going to admit freely that that's a somewhat normal feature at the Allen household. And I couldn't believe that they would actually give that reason for it. It's almost like they're making a mockery and a joke of it, right?
Well, Sessions is up to his eyeballs in all the mud that Trump is in and all the Russian stuff. So he knows that if Trump goes, he goes. And he won't get, if he's prosecuted, he will not get his Senate retirement package.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a lot to lose, but it's the way of the bigot. Eventually, their own bigotry catches up with them.
Right. Hey, Doc, can we throw the letter back up there? Because there's one more thing about the letter I want to talk about. In the second paragraph, he goes out of his way to say that Comey exonerated him 3 times. When I read that, I was like, that's proof that, to me, that's proof positive that this thing was leaked for a reason, because he goes out of his way to say that, see, I was, even though you exonerated me, he ain't talking to Comey, he's talking to the American public. Right.
Absolutely.
There. Look, this guy exonerated me. No, he didn't, because in the testimony on Monday, he said that there were active investigations going on.
That's right.
And so this whole thing is just a wacky farce. And I sat there watching this all unfold, just this whole tsunami of crap. And I'm watching seasoned professional broadcaster. You got the Brian Williams, you got Anderson Cooper. Heck,
Dan Rather.
Yeah, all of them, right? And all of them literally almost had the dumbfounded face that I did before, and it's like it threw them for a loop. And how much in the looking glass are we, where everything is so turned around that we have lost every shred of any moral compass.
Absolutely. It's kind of like, is this a Rod Serling novel?
Yeah, some title. Yeah, I'm keep looking around, and see, that's the funny thing, is because we keep making TV references, right?
Correct.
But that is the way Donald operates. He operates on a visual optics, right? Everything's from a TV. And he said it numerous times when he's talking. He does things because he gets good ratings. Sean Spicer gets great ratings. He gets better ratings than the soap operas. That's really how his parameters are set.
Yes.
And so when you look at it now with Comey and everything else, you say to yourself, man, this is just nothing but May sweeps.
Oh, definitely.
He's going out there, even though it's so many shades of Nixon, firing AGs.
It's like being back there when it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived through it. I saw it happen. I'm going, and then for me, it was like deja do.
Exactly right. All right. I'm taking a drink. I have to wet my whistle.
We get excited here. We have to drink something.
Right. Keep the flasks handy. The show's early. But no, it is just so wackadoo that we have come to, and I don't know if, I'm sure I'm not alone in this. I'm sure there are plenty of people when they saw this all unfold yesterday and the continuing saga, of as I'm going to call this soap opera As the Stomach Turns.
That's a good one. It's it's 2017's worst reminder of history.
Right, and I sat there and I'm watching it unfold, and I think to myself, I can't be the only one thinking this. How in the hell did we get here?
Oh, the internet exploded.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Twitter, Facebook, you name it. There were stories all over them, mostly borrowed from mainstream media.
Yeah.
Because none of them could actually fathom that this happened, because for them, they realize that, especially Rather and those guys, this is Nixon all over again.
Yep.
And it's not going to turn out very well. Nixon at least was enough of a statesman to,
or a veteran. He
was a politico, so he knew that his choices were be impeached or abdicate. Which other people say he just resigned, but I call it abdication.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall. He knew it. Right. As Bob Dole would say, I know it, you know it, the American people know it.
Yes.
And it was time to fish or cut bait. In fact, there's a famous story about one of the senators at the House at that time, Watergate, and he's walking up the White House, and it's the long walk. Because he knows he's got to Nixon, it's time to go.
That you're done. And you're going to be impeached by a large margin.
And I can't imagine, after all of this going on, I can't imagine that walk isn't going to happen again sometime before this 4 years is up.
It depends. I think that one of the realities is Trump will ignore it, because unlike Nixon, who was really a fairly smart guy, just a paranoid delusional.
Right.
that Trump will either ignore it and fight it all the way till the end, which will be great because then they'll drag every one of the people in his cabinet down with him.
And in that respect, I agree with you because that's always an option. Trump never wants to quit, never wants to back down. He wants to slug it out to the end, right?
Right.
But unfortunately, the House Senate and the House Republicans is now going to, at some point, it's going to go in survival mode. Everyone, CYA, so to speak, right?
Right, exactly. They want to keep their seats, and in 2018, people are not going to forget what happened in the first quarter of 2000. Actually, we're in the second quarter of 2017.
Yeah, and I can't imagine the Senate and the House holding out for that much longer as they realize their own political dreams and aspirations and reality is going right down the tubes.
That's why John McCain came out and said we need an independent investigating committee.
Good Lord, when somebody like John McCain steps forward and says that, you know that the murd has hit the oscillating blades, right?
Oh yeah, because he's the one that will say it. The other guys won't, but they're thinking the same thing.
Right. And so, of course, reaction came fast and furious after the announcement was made that Comey had been fired. One of the more enlightening ones, I thought, was actually from Chuck Schumer, where he got up there and said, if we need an independent investigation into this, if we don't have it, this is nothing but, a conspiracy and it's a fraud.
It's a coup, basically.
Yeah. And what's even more telling is Trump's response to it. Does he say something that's actually rational and or somewhat classy? Again, I'm using the word classy.
No, he's not going to say anything that's rational.
Crying Chuck Schumer, and he goes on this little rambling tweet, and I just at some point somebody's got to take that damn phone away from him.
It ain't gonna happen. He won't let it happen.
Because every tweet you take the position, the lofty position of the president, the position that's been held in esteem for over 200 years. When you think of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln,
John Kennedy,
FDR, right?
Teddy Roosevelt.
And we've come to admire and put on a pedestal that this guy is the leader of the free world.
Correct.
Right? And with every tweet, that pedestal gets chopped down more and more and more and more until it is a total, almost Shakespearean farce.
Right.
Of the Mad King, while his minions, or his minions and flying monkeys are going about the king's business, right?
Right.
And it is crazy. And when I saw the Schumer thing, and then I saw Trump's going to respond to that, and then I saw Trump's total classless response to that.
And Schumer's been around. He is a senator. Do you think calling him crying Chuck Schumer is going to dent his thick skin?
Right. No
way.
He's seen everything by this time.
Yeah.
But the thing about it, folks, do you know where the term crying Chuck Schumer came from? Just a little backstory for you so you know. I'm going to use Trump's own hand signals. Okay, so where that comes from, folks, is Chuck Schumer shed a little tears when they were talking about the Jewish Holocaust,
right?
Because his family had been directly involved in it. Okay,
right,
and then the president of the United States, the president of the free world, and I'm doing Clinton now, president of the free world, openly mocks a guy that lost, family members in the Holocaust. What sort of... All right, I'm going to say it. I know it's a family show, but I'm going to say it. What sort of douchebag does that, all right? Especially when it's the president, especially when you're supposed to act presidential, right? We have just... Everything now is a reality TV show.
Oh, it's been that way since 2016, February.
Right, and for this, and the way it's shaping up, and for this special investigation, all right, folks, the next FBI head, the next head of the FBI, is going to be chosen by Jeff Sessions, okay? That's how it works in the Constitution, right? That's the protocol. Who do you think he is going to put up there? Do you think he's going to put up a bipartisan, down the middle, totally nonpartisan guy that is a career FBI guy that wants to see that justice reigns in America? Do you think that's actually going to happen?
No.
If you think that's going to happen, I need you to go sit in the corner right now, okay? Sit in the corner.
I've got bridges I can sell them.
Trump's got all sorts of properties all over the world he can sell them, right? The Kushners, who get in trouble now for, putting Jared up there as their selling point in Shanghai. All right, and then they also, oh, God, I go on a tangent about that.
It's all a very bad nightmare, but it's reality.
Yeah, I'm going to slaughter the word.
That's all right.
Family kleptocracy.
Kleptocracy. Thank you, Doc.
Thank
you, Mr. Jenkins.
Right, which is worse than an oligarchy.
Right, and we got that. We got that with the business, all right? Not only that, we got the business with Russia, right? Not only that, we got how many other dirt that's out there that we have no idea yet that's coming down the pike, because if it's been this much so far, we're not done there yet, folks. I mean, it all started with the old with the birther thing, and then it moves into the Access Hollywood bus thing, and then all the other stupid things that comes flying out of our president's pie hole, and then we get to the point now where there's active investigations. When is it enough? And I know we've talked about this numerous times on the show. Where is that point where the old Trumpkins get to themselves and they say, I can no longer support this?
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. That's the one thing I believe Trump, the one thing I believe Trump on is when he said that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and the people would let him get away with it.
Right. Well, yeah, they're blinded by dirt. What can I say?
And it is just crazy where we find ourselves now in
it's 2017, folks. This is not 1817.
Yeah, no kidding. And I really last week when all this stuff was going on, and when I knew Sally Yates was going to testify, when I knew Comey was going to testify, I mean, obviously before we found out that Trump fired Comey, but I sat there and everyone said, he's just like Andrew Jackson. He's just like Andrew Jackson. Look at it.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And I said to myself, the knee-jerk reaction was, hell no, he's not Andrew Jackson. He's friggin' Benedict Arnold.
More like it, even though Andrew Jackson was a slaveholder.
Right, yeah. He's like, he is like the Benedict Arnold, Andrew Jackson love child. And
there's a lot of truth to that one.
It is just... I don't know how else to describe it now. It's getting to that point where I don't know how else we can describe it. Unless it's sedition and treason.
Right. The ball of whatever you want to call it, aluminum foil, rubber bands, whatever, grows larger and larger, and it's already rolling. So it's going to be rolling downhill.
Right.
Not uphill. And no matter what Donnie boy...
Crap runs... Talk about now. You guys know that at least some part of trickle down works. All right, it's just not economics. It's your own crap.
Right. So. It's all the lies have piled up.
Oh my God.
And there's just no way. CNN, ABC, NBC, all the other over-the-air channels outside of Fox refuse to run Don the Con's. Well, what I would call re-election campaign BS on TV.
Right, I agree. And talk about funny is we had a Kellyanne sighting. What happens when Spicy's hiding and the A-team is, I'm not going out there. You got to be freaking kidding me. What do? They send out Kellyanne Conway and I think Huckabee's wife.
I have no idea how Kellyanne Conway really either sleeps at night or believes herself to be an honest person. Yeah. I just, she reminds me of the kind of woman that used to lead children to the gas chambers in the Holocaust.
Sadly, this is beyond Stockholm Syndrome.
Oh, definitely.
And the funny thing about Kellyanne is I remember when she was just a pollster, right?
Right. She was a pollster.
And she was kind of the wacky broad, but she seemed inoffensive and somewhat, I mean, I know this is going to sound really weird, but somewhat human.
To a degree that Bill Maher actually brought her on his show via Skype TV to talk about how good she thought that Trump was going to do for the country and all. You know, I don't think she had a clue. She certainly was not involved that I could see with the Russian stuff. I think she was basically a hanger-on that was dragged in to say, hey, look nice for us, and then kicked to the side again. Because they didn't ask her to be the spokesman, did they?
The friendly face of the 8-headed Hydra, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Folks, we are at the bottom of the hour right now. What we're going to do is we're going to go to a brand new, which you saw at the very beginning of the show, but a brand new promo video for NuzBox. It's a 30-second spot. Don't time it because it's probably 30 seconds, 0.4, whatever. But it's
29.3.
It's a brand new spot as we start unveiling more and more of the capabilities and where our vision is for NuzBox. You're going to see cool things like this, including a brand new promo 30-second commercial for Turning Left.
One of the few commercials we actually run.
Yes. Think of that. How lucky are you? All right, let's do this video, and we'll come back right after this. This is Turning Left with Jason Allen. You are watching it on NuzBox.com. A refreshing beverage, watching a brand new promo. I gotta tell you, I feel.
Hey, the dancing girls are next.
Right. Stay tuned, folks. I feel refreshed. Anyway, folks, we're back. This is Turning Left with Jason Allen here with Sir Richard and Doc Normal, and we're talking about all the crap that's going on. And you know what? While we were yakking and going to the promo commercial, L. Trumpkins,
Don the Con,
he tweeted again, folks. Let's Doc, I can't really see.
I can do that, yeah. 10 minutes ago, Donald J. Trump on Twitter. Dems have been complaining for months and months about Director Comey. Now that he has been fired, they pretend, in all caps, to be aggrieved, phony hypocrites.
Oh, boy, hashtag.
Well, it takes one to know one.
Right. You know, it's so funny about that is that he totally disregards his own video. I mean, numerous accounts of him. Oh, Comey's the greatest guy.
Oh yeah,
we need to stand behind him. Finally, we're gonna get to the bottom of the Hillary, and it just. So when he figures that this guy is now maybe somewhat of a political liability, or more of this guy may be investigating me, and I may want to get him the heck out of the door because this may not end well.
No, it's kind of like a Machiavellian movie that's going to come out in about, 6 months to make a movie from scriptwrite to actually start to shoot. It's going to make all the president's men look like child's play.
I agree, man. This is almost some weird LSD version of Game of Thrones, where the Mad King is going freaking out,
Definitely. That and Little Oedipus Rex, and Shakespeare's got a whole slew of them, Macbeth, you name it.
Right, but it just amazes me, and I know he does these tweets because he's trying to spin the conversation, and we see you, Donald. We see you working. But it just also points to a very eye-opening of his whole psyche, where he has no idea what the truth is anymore.
I don't think he ever did.
Well, yeah, because I mean, obviously he's the type of guy that is surrounded by yes men and sycophants, and so they're all telling him, "Oh, Donald, you're so great," and then they go out to these shows like Huckabee did last night. She gets on the show, and well, can we just get past all this Russia stuff? There's nothing there. Oh, and you know, and then what is the guy with who used to wear the bow tie? Doc, what's his name? I'm drawing the blank on him now.
Political commentator?
Yeah.
George Will?
No, the other guy.
George Will?
He's now one of the talk show hosts there. He's the guy that's, I want to say like Carson, but it's not.
There's a
Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
Carlson's looking here. I'm going to do my Tucker Carlson impression for those of you watching on TV. She's like, you know, we got to get past this. There's nothing there. I don't understand why the people have to do this. And he's like thoughtful, yeah, you know, you're so right. You are so right. And just incredibly that this whole echo chamber of fantasy that these people try to dish out on faux news, because it's not Fox News, it's faux news.
That's right.
And these people actually buy into it. Oh, there's nothing there. I know there's nothing there. Hell, the president said there's nothing there, so there's nothing there.
Well,
when literally every other sign is like it's just giant big neon arrow pointing, yes, there's something there. You know, it's not saying eat at Joe's. It's saying, yes, there is something there. And it's, when is it enough?
Well, weak minds are easily convinced, and if they're pushed in the right direction, they'll solidify whatever lie is coming out. And so, honestly, they don't care.
Right, they don't care. And not only, we're going to skip ahead real quick before we get to Sir Richard, is the Sally Yates interview where she really went back and forth with a couple of congressmen. She went back and forth.
Ted Cruz,
intense, where he tries that smirk on his face.
Yeah, she wiped it off.
Well, I am superior to you, so I'm going to tell you how it is constitutionally. And then she just turns it around and just blasts him.
Finds that the entry of any alien or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States. He may, by proclamation, and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem appropriate. Would you agree that that is broad statutory authorization?
I would, and I am familiar with that, and I'm also familiar with an additional provision of the INA that says no person shall receive preference or be discriminated against in issuance of a visa because of race, nationality, or place of birth.
Which was
that I believe was
below.
promulgated after the statute that you just quoted. And that's been part of the discussion with the courts with respect to the INA, is whether this more specific statute trumps the first one that you just described.
Trumps. Yes, that was classic.
INA concern here. It rather was a constitutional concern. Right. Whether or not this the executive order here violated the Constitution, specifically with the Establishment Clause and equal protection and due process.
You know, this doesn't say anything else. He cherry-picked that.
Ted Cruz, class dismissed. The teacher just schooled you, okay?
Yes.
And that's basically what it was. I know Al Franken gave a really good...
Oh, yeah, he toasted.
Yes. He toasted. I think we got a little Franken right now, if I see that right. Al, take it away.
Have concluded, all 17 of them, that Russia interfered with this election. And we all know how that's right.
Senator, as I pointed out in my statement, Senator Franken, there were only 3 agencies that directly involved in this assessment, plus my office.
But all 17 signed on to that.
Well, we didn't go through that process. This was a special situation because of the time limits and what I knew to be who could really contribute to this and the sensitivity of the information. We decided it was a conscious judgment to restrict it to those 3. I'm not aware of anyone who dissented or disagreed when it came out.
Okay.
No dissent.
Anyone who's looked at even the unclassified report is pretty convinced that this is what happened. And one of the questions is, why did they favor Donald Trump? There are a number of contacts and communications between Trump campaign officials and associates and members of the Trump administration, Jeff Sessions, as Senator Leahy mentioned, Carter Page, a former campaign advisor, Paul Manafort, who was a former campaign manager and chief strategist, Rex Tillerson, Secretary of State.
The Rogues Gallery, right?
Russia
Henchman.
Award,
Yeah.
Roger Stone, and
as you're reading
course,
down the Nuremberg list,
Jared
right?
Kushner,
Absolutely.
White House
Roger
senior
Stone,
advisor, son-in-law,
Herman Goering,
and Michael Flynn.
Carter Page,
Heinrich
Himmler.
A lot in my mind. Now, going to Flynn, he appeared during the campaign on Russia Today. Russia Today is the propaganda arm, one of the propaganda arm of. And now, you, General, since you've retired, have you appeared on Russia Today?
Not wittingly, no.
No.
Not willingly.
Okay.
Oh, Franken.
And General Flynn received $37,000 for sitting.
I think I would like it if Al Franken
at
ran.
the 10th anniversary.
At least he'd make us laugh.
Of Russia.
Could you imagine? I mean, the guy that wrote for SNL, a guy that starred on TV and in
all
movies,
this seems
who
very
knows
odd
the
to me and
optics
raises
of
a
all
lot
that
of
stuff,
I was
goes
struck
against
that
someone like Trump.
Mr. McGahn
Ooh, man, that's saucy. Let's just stir that sauce a little bit, shall we? All right. Yes, that's Al Franken, folks. Right now I want to get to Sir Richard because it is one of the highlights of the show. When
I'd like to think so.
I can see what's inside. We can see what's inside Sir Richard's noggin. It's going to be great.
Oh, well, you know what? If you were to look in there, you go, oh, my God. It's a black hole.
It can't be worse than yesterday, man.
Oh, that's probably true. Well, this week's World's Greatest Putts of the Year award goes to the following. So this is the Wrecking Crew. Paul Ryan, the liar from Wisconsin. Mitch McConnell, the liar and cover-up artist from Kentucky. And, of course, Don the Con, the fool from New York. They are all in violation of the Constitution for seduction and treason and should be thrown out of office, prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and lose all their clothing. So, hey, I would like to see that. I think so. And just for the folks who don't know what sedition is, I'm reading it because I want to have it be accurate, the Sedition Act was passed in 1918, right around World War I. Because there were a lot of German sympathizers that were trying to keep the U.S. out of the war. So sedition is, and this is going to be important, overt conduct. Oh, who could we mention that has overt conduct, such as speech and organization that tends toward insurrection against the established order? Steve Bannon. Why does the name just pop up to the top? Sedition often includes, and here's the key nut there, subversion of a constitution and incitement or discontention or resistance to lawful authority. So when they go locking up people for asking the Health and Human Services guy questions, and they arrest him for asking legal, simple questions, welcome to sedition, folks.
Right. The guy is a reporter, West Virginia. He's asking questions, and they arrest him on some sort of offshoot local law, basically disturbing the peace.
Right.
And this is such a slippery slope and a dangerous path we're leading when we actively censor those who are in the media business and those who are trying to report the news. You may not like the questions, but hey, you're the guy that ran for office, and it's your job to answer those questions. If you don't like it, you just cannot jail. I mean, this is Banana Republic, third world crap.
Oh, it's also Germany, the Soviet Union, and Russia. Oh, you can.
So Russia right now, how many journalists and dissenters have just gone missing?
Oh, yes, and there are no overt publications or there's no TV in Russia that actually is actively opposed to him at all.
Right.
So, in essence, folks, you're watching a very slow coup happening.
Yep.
Whether or not the American people decide that they've had enough and they want somebody in there that's competent, time will tell. But it worked to get rid of Nixon.
Yes, it did, and there's a protocol to be followed there. And, of course, one of the protocols of your congressmen or senators is when they go on recess, well, they may just like to go and do some town halls because, it's a time where you get back to constituents and you talk to them and it's a sounding board. And, well, it's what they do because they want to keep their job, right?
Exactly.
Well, this time around, there was a little resistance. And, there was a lot of resistance.
And these are GOP folks. These are not paid Democratic operatives. These are the folks that voted for Trump.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to a New York congressman. He is Representative Sean Patrick Mahoney. He is out of New York, and he did something that is I've never seen before in politics, but he did something that was just genius. He, of course, he held a town hall in his district where he's from. But Fazo, who has the district literally next door, refused to do a town hall. So you know what he did? He said, you know what? You people deserve a town hall. I'm going to go to that district, and I'm going to be a surrogate for the guy. And he showed up, and he did it. And he appealed on, I think it was on Rachel Maddow's show. He appealed.
Yes.
He appealed to all the rest of the congressmen to do that. So I would not be. Here we go. Sean Patrick Mahoney.
That when her congressman promised her that he would not do this to her. I mean, this is a woman with a brain tumor who is not playing some political game. She was desperate in that video, and he promised her he wouldn't. And she came on your show last night and she said, I felt maybe I was naive when he promised me I thought he wouldn't do it. And I have to tell you, I feel like saying to her, Andrea, if you're listening, you're not naive, because I believed him too. And I'll tell you what, there are members of Congress who will look you in the eye and will not lie to you about something that serious. And if this guy won't stand up and explain it to you and the people he represents, my neighbors in the Hudson Valley, well, I'm going to do it. I think every Republican who voted for this thing ought to have to stand in front of their voters and explain it. And if it takes a Democrat to go in and do it for him for a while, I'll explain what's in this bill, and if he doesn't like it, he should stand up and explain it himself. I mean, I think we ought to get on offense on this, and maybe a Democrat ought to go into every district where a Republican who supported Trump Care won't hold a town hall meeting, and do it for him. Sit in that chair and say, I'll stand here and answer your questions until your own congressman starts doing his job.
And so he did. He held a town hall. I believe it was either yesterday or the day before. And I've seen the footage of it, and it's quite funny because he's like, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm here to represent and talk to you, but I've got to tell you, why am I here? You have your own.
Right.
It's sad that Faso wouldn't do it.
Right. Where is your representative that you voted into office?
Right. Yeah, but he's like, it is very funny in the fact that he was like, folks, I think you're important. I love you and all. And heck, when I leave out of here, I'll roll down my window and wave to you and tell you goodbye. But you need, this is indicative, though, of what is really going on nationwide. A lot of these guys have taken that, recess, and they are just flat out refusing to talk to their constituents. Geez, why do you think that is? Do you think it's like pay? Oh, once again, I'm going to do the Trump thing. It's all paid protesters. They're all out there, and no, it's because people are sick and tired of a healthcare law that now passed the House that is crap. Okay, the CBO did the first one and said 24 million people were going to go without insurance. Now, as far as I know, the CBO has not brought out the score for this one.
No.
It's supposed to be this week. And they said it's going to be, the best judges said it's going to be worse than the first one because there's even more draconian stipulations and clauses that they put into this.
I like to call it Trump death care.
It is. It exactly is. It's death care.
They said 40,000 people will die from just next year, or this year actually, from not being able to get health care. And folks, there's a huge difference between getting health care and access to it. That is such a red herring. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the world has access to health care, but they can't get it.
Yep. And that is the great lie that these folks are hiding behind. They're telling you, hey, you got access to health care. Oh my gosh, we are not impeding any access at all. But yeah, they are, because the average Martha and Mr. Jenkins can't afford the high cost of getting a plan through that. They just can't, okay? You're going to go back to seeing old people choosing to not eat in order to get their prescription drugs. Right. You're going to see cancer patients charged, I think it was an average of, even after the health care plan that's worked in, an additional $142,000.
Right. So basically, when I say it's Trump death care, that's what it's going to be. And they want to put people who are ill into what I will call death pools.
The high-risk pools, right? And they put them in these pools, and your choice is nothing. Your plan is nothing. And basically, they tell you, I mean, let's be honest, right? Let's call it as it is. Basically, they tell you tough luck.
That's
and
right.
And folks, it all comes from a philosophy that is rife in the Republican Party. Okay, and there are senators and there are representatives that have said over and over, even in town hall meetings, right in front of you, we are under no obligation to pay for your health care, right? And remember Jimmy Kimmel.
Right.
Where he gets on there, and I forget.
He talked about his son needing a special operation.
Yeah, I forget what representative made the tweet. But
his tweet was Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh, not the guy from the Eagles, but
no, Joe.
Joe Walsh. He basically said, "Sorry, Jim. I'm sorry to the sad story about your kid, but we are under no obligation to pay for people's health care." Okay. And that is a major philosophical difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. Now, the Republicans are going to tell you that it's all market related. We need to make the market work for capitalism work. Okay. Now, folks, this is socialism. This is socialism. I'm going to tell you something.
It's not.
There has been socialism in this country the moment Social Security was formed, okay?
There was socialism before that, but Social Security was the big one.
Right. And Medicaid and Medicare are all some forms, if you put it down on a philosophical level, of socialism, okay?
That's why they call it Social Security.
I know people will say it's not our obligation, this is not the American way. Folks, what is the American way? If you look in your textbooks, you will find that at one time in America, it was legal for one man to own another man.
That's right.
Let that sink in, okay?
That's right.
So that was in America, and of course we evolved from that. We have Social Security. There was a safety net because people were, especially during the Depression, FDR saw these old people and poor people
starving
in the streets and had no recourse for comfort, okay? And so Social Security was born. It is now time, folks, because of the rising costs and because of big pharma and big medicine, that we need to readdress this philosophy and come into the 21st century like literally every other
nation.
He
even said to the Australian Prime Minister, he said, well, you really have a great healthcare system. It's not as good as ours.
I love that. Can we show that, Doc? There is the quote there, and it's also an excerpt from Chris Hayes, and he's interviewing Bernie Sanders. This is awesome. Let it fly.
He's meeting the Prime Minister of Australia. Just spoke about the bill that was passed and about the Senate's role in this. Take a listen.
Could get maybe even better. It's a very good bill right now. The premiums are going to come down very substantially. The deductibles are going to come down. It's going to be fantastic health care. Right now, Obamacare is failing. we have a failing health care. I shouldn't say this to our great gentleman and my friend from Australia, because you have better health care than we do.
They do have. They have universal health. I know. I thought you would.
Okay. Wait a minute, Chris. All right. The president has just said it. That's great. Let's take a look at the Australian healthcare system. And let's move. Maybe let's take a look at the Canadian health system or systems throughout Europe. Thank you, Mr. President. Let us move to a Medicare for all system that does what every other major country on earth does. Guarantee health care to all people at a fraction of the cost per capita that we spend. Thank you, Mr. President. We'll quote you on the floor of the Senate.
That, folks, I don't know how you took that in, but you saw something that doesn't happen every decade. You saw Bernie Sanders laugh.
Laughing, yes.
He never laughs, and the Trump made him laugh.
Well, Trump's a clown.
Trump is a clown. Folks, every week we come on here and we talk about cool causes, and it's called Cause of the Week. We talk about nonprofits that you can get behind and support either monetarily or your time, right? You can volunteer and help make a difference. This week's Cause of the Week is TextArt. TextArt is a 501c3 nonprofit that promotes wider access to technology education for K through 12 students in order to strengthen the skills they need to thrive in the global economy. The flagship program, SuperQuest, is an innovative, affordable professional development series for technology teachers and teachers interested in integrating technology into their curriculum. TextArt offers a variety of courses at various skill levels and 3 broad categories: computer science, information technology, and pre-engineering. Through the program, they reach thousands of students by educating and inspiring their teachers. If you want, and such a cool thing, because as the world becomes more connected, technology is moving at the speed of light. To get ahead in the world today, folks, your kids need to be tech savvy, and what a cool program that can help your child do that. You can go looking for them online right now. You can www.techstart.org, or if you feel like you want to call them, you can call them at 503-228-5440. Or if you want to do the unthinkable by today's standards, you want to go down there and talk to them in person, they are located at 111 Southwest 5th Avenue, Suite 120, Portland, 97204. That is TextArt, and I think that is a fantastic cause to get behind.
It is.
Because kids today need every advantage they can get to get ahead in today's world.
We live in a digital world. It's not going to become analog anymore.
Right. I have a nephew who is he's going to be an engineering major, and he's hugely into robotics. Was part of their high school robotics team. Actually, he was the head of the high school robotics team, and smart as a whip. And I'm glad that there are programs now for these kids to expand and to really engage in vocations that are going to directly affect them in the coming century. And TextArt is one of those guys that helps placement into schools for kids who may not have any other access to any sort of this technology and try to get ahead in the world. And I think that's fabulous.
I think so too. Education is a tough road, but kids need way more skills to survive than I did when I went through school.
Isn't that just, that is a major bummer for me, because I'm a child of the 80s. I went through high school in the early 80s and I only wish that there was a robotics that technology was advanced that much where we could have as a self-described geek. Oh man, I would have ate that stuff up.
Oh sure.
And such a cool. I don't even think we even had a science club in school. I think it was good old Rex Putnam High School.
It was too geeky, too geeky for kids to actually be seeing going to a club meeting about signs.
Right, but now it's cool, and I'm so glad it's cool because that sort of technology can be the difference between you working a job that you can thrive and it's a career rather than just a sustainable job because you have to pay the bills. It's that sort of stuff.
It's an avocation.
It's an avocation and it's a passion.
Yep.
Right? And so TextArt, get up there today. It's all linked up there on the Turning Left page on Facebook, I hope. And if it's not, it will be.
It will be.
A little later on this afternoon. So don't even wait for the link. Go up and do it now. And if you can't say, crap, I forget the phone number, get a hold of us on Facebook, and I'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction. All right, now it's time for final thoughts because Sir Richard and Doc, we are getting down to crunch time.
Yes.
Give me, I just want your knee-jerk reaction impression of the last 48 hours.
Just Nixon. I just remembered Nixon. That's the first thing that popped into my head. A little history goes a long way.
Amen. Amen, Sir Richard. Doc, I want your knee-jerk reaction. I know that politics kind of sours you, and you get a little frustrated, but let me have it, just like 30-second soundbite of where you're at.
One of the headlines we missed with all the Trump talk
that spin. You're spinning.
is at the wonderful Hanford nuclear and chemical waste dump site. I just put up a tweet here from, I believe this was yesterday. Hanford emergency update picture shows 20-foot by 20-foot hole in roof of tunnel. For more info, visit Hanford site. And there's a nice picture if you're watching there. That is a hole in a nuclear waste dump tunnel that's dumping out nuclear waste. And
they'll only tell you if you go there that it was really just a slight event, because they don't use real words when it comes to nuclear energy. Having been there myself, I have health physics background and nuclear physics background.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, you're correct, because if you look at the monitor here, this is fine.
Yes.
As everything's on fire, fine. The house is burning down.
Well, the classic line you'll always hear is, no radiation escaped into the environment. Oh, please.
Yeah, you can't have a big old 20 by 20 gaping hole. Oh, don't worry about it. It's cool.
Right.
Yeah. Just like Fukushima. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Meanwhile, the fish have 7 eyes and 3 tails. And I never knew that fish glowed in the dark like that before.
Well, hey, it's you can read your newspaper by your dinner.
That's a plus. Thank you.
Well, hey, you've got to look at the bright side somewhere.
And you know what? I think on that note, we're going to end it there. What a way to go out. We can't do any better than that. Hell, I can't do any better than that, so let's do it. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We will see you all again in 2 weeks. Next week, Doc is on call. He's out there. We're sending him to the outer reaches of Ulaanbaatar out in Mongolia. He's going to do a fact-finding mission to find out what the heck is going on. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Turning Left, Sir Richard, thank you so much.
It's been great to be here, as always.
Doc, you are a mensch.
Thank you.
And we will be back in 2 weeks. Thank you all for tuning in. See you all later. Pay attention, folks.
It's your country.